Sit right down and I'll show you where my dreams began.
I'm Michael Dugan, your culinary host, guiding you through the chef's journey. Join me at the chef's table, where you'll experience stories, secret sauces, signature dishes, and kitchen disasters. Tonight, today, wherever you are, this is a really special episode because we are crossing countries, we're crossing rivers, we're crossing oceans from Seattle all the way to Bombay, India. This is a very special guest. And Simona Terron is a food blogger. She is a diehard foodie, a home chef, very passionate about sharing her knowledge on Clubhouse. She runs Spice Advice, a Clubhouse room in Food is Religion. And I'm just really excited to have you here today, Simona.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me, Michael.
Tell us about your food podcast, because I was listening to it, listening to you, I was listening to Josh, and it's so creative. Can you tell us a little bit about, it's Metro Food Hoppers, right?
Yeah, that was the second one. So 2 podcasts. The first one was called THC HeartBytes because THC stands for the Heart Chef. And now that's the food avatar that I created a few years ago when I started microblogging on, Instagram and Facebook, etc. I was very late to the party because I never considered myself a food blogger. And I'm going to say something terrible right now. I know it's going to get me a lot of hate, but I'm okay with that. I don't want to be known as a food blogger because the word I think has become extremely loaded now. And at least in India, every second person with a smartphone and a mouth, because you need the mouth to eat and to talk, who wants free food is a food blogger.
I see.
Okay. And it's not just the people who want free food. I'm sure there are plenty of them who pay first and then review. I'm sorry, but I come from a world where I did the work. We used to have to research. We had to do our homework before doing interviews. It was a lot of hard work before you ended up finally, having your article published. And even back then, yes, of course, working for, like I said, one of the most powerful media houses like the Times of India means restaurants and even 5-star hotels are going to bend over backwards to invite you for free food. So that was not the intention, right? That I'm getting to eat for free. It was more the education. You're meeting chefs from around the world who are flying in for food festivals.
Wow.
You're meeting people who talk about how they've curated certain things. You're meeting sommeliers who are talking about wine, which all of these things seem very normal now because the public has access to it. And social media, of course, blows it up in your face just all the time. But back then, even food cooking shows were not as sophisticated as they are today. So that world was extremely elite, very exclusive, and relatively inaccessible. As a food writer, you had to earn your place there, and you had to really learn on the go. You can't publish something in a printed publication and mess up. Today, if you make a mistake in a blog, you can go and edit it out.
Okay.
But once it's in print, if you said something wrong or factually incorrect, your editor is going to have to print a retraction if it's serious enough, which hopefully you don't ever want to happen because, you get called into the edit meeting and everyone knows about the boo-boo you've made.
Right.
Or it's so small and it's so stupid that it doesn't warrant any change or attention. Everybody's already read it and they think, oh, wow, she didn't know that. So you see, it's like when you come from that caliber, that background, you look at the world today where anyone and everyone is a food blogger. I mean, everyone throws around food reviews, having done zero research, zero accountability. And that pisses me off because food creators, restaurants, businesses, home chefs, everyone, it doesn't matter what capacity or, to what degree they're doing their stuff, but they're putting their lives on the line, their life savings often. It's their work, right? And for a random person to just walk in and say something flippantly is very disrespectful. So I'm very, very conscious of the fact that food blogger is a title that I take very seriously. And there are many people who call themselves food bloggers but are not doing justice to that label. And that's definitely where I wish that more people would take the trouble to do their research. You did so much homework before this, right? So for me,
that's you have no idea.
See? So that's because you respect what it is you do and what it is that the people who you're interviewing do.
I respect what you do as well.
And thank you, because that's what makes this an equal energy exchange.
Absolutely.
So when I started my podcast, I wanted to bring all of that journalism skills and background and, seriousness, but add fun to it and also engagement, because what a podcast can do, a printed article or even a digital article just cannot, right? Because you're talking to people, You've got music, you're taking them on a journey.
Simona, come on. Which do you enjoy more, being a food writer or being a podcaster?
I'm a podcaster. Come on, I'm all about the energy.
Yeah, me too. You're awesome.
Honestly, if you'd asked me this question 5 years ago, I would not have had the same answer, simply because I think I grew up being this introverted, lots of very noisy in my head, talking to people, no problem with that. I didn't have any social awkwardness ever.
Okay.
At that stage of my life, I was more introverted, happier on my own, more willing to express myself through words written down.
There is so much power, though, Simona. There is so much power in being introvert.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the best thing, because who I am as an introvert is what makes me feel and appear like a very confident superstar when I'm playing the extrovert.
Yes.
I am an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. Most people would laugh thinking about this if they've met me, but I know the truth.
Really?
And I honestly believe that.
But you worked at it.
Exactly. And
I know this.
And being well-read, being somebody who had arguments in my head with imaginary people and debates and fleshed out conversations means that when these things happen in real life, I'm already rehearsed, dude. I've done this already.
Right.
So that was the practice. And this is just like, okay, cool, I'm doing it again. And I think that's what helped me become a better podcaster. It's not that I wish I had started with podcasting. I probably would have been rubbish at it. I think it's the years of honing your craft as a writer, being able to construct and, create and have flow and understand structure, all of that. Discipline. Oh, that's my favorite D word. Discipline is what helps me today to be able to pick up a mic, pick up a camera, just open a clubhouse room and speak. It did not come easy. It did not come naturally. And it is definitely not something that someone taught me. I had to teach myself. So podcasting for me was a joy, and THC HeartBytes was simply my first foray with zero knowledge, no technical training, and just being giddy with excitement at listening to all the possibilities from the different podcasts I had heard. And I think the first one that really did the opposite of the term hit me where it hurts, it made me explode with joy, where one can possibly explode the most with joy, is The Splendid Table. And that is a beautiful podcast. And it was initially hosted by a woman with a voice that tastes like whiskey mixed with honey.
Oh, yeah. I've listened to it. I like it a lot.
Poured onto, it's just beautiful. The hosting was taken over by a gentleman, I think, Stephen Phillip, but really a very cool guy, much younger, but still kept the joy of the show alive. And for me, I said, you know what? I need to be able to do this. I need to be able to take people on this journey with just my voice. And the good thing is, just like the years and years of discipline with writing, right, as a craft and a skill, being a voiceover artist made that easier too. So I stumbled into voicing because of a random cousin, in fact, worked at a studio, one of the most hip recording studios / nightclubs in Bombay. And it was called the Blue Frog.
Wow. Oh, I love it.
It was the first of its kind because they had something called sound design and soundscaping in a nightclub, which had never been even heard of before, right? You just go in and speakers are banging out music and everybody's dancing and sweating and getting drunk. But no, here, the performance space, they would invite bands from across the world to come and perform. It was a restaurant cum nightclub, so very posh, very high end, But,
oh my gosh.
Because I was a journalist, I knew that the press kit that came to me said that the very walls had been acoustically enhanced so that the performances were the focus and not the food in the restaurant. The food was just something to eat while paying attention to the performances, right? So this is the caliber of club we're talking about. So you can imagine their adjacent business, which was a recording studio, because they would get bands from across the world coming and performing. So of course they also had a recording studio. That was where my cousin worked. So
that's incredible.
He invited me once and said randomly, like, hey, you seem to have
a good voice,
a skill for this. And he says, you're just crazy. Because when I talk, I'm very, and this is the perfect word, I'm very animated. Okay.
I know.
Some people will say cartoon-like, but I'm like, hey, that's animation too. So he was once like, why don't you just come in and play with some tracks and let's see if you can put down something, because we're building a voice bank of voice artists. And I'm like, oh, what is that? I love it. It sounds like the kind of job I would get. He's like, yeah, calm down. You're not going to get paid, but you can have fun with it. I said, that sounds good to me. And I went in.
It's a gift, Simona. It's really a gift.
And I didn't know I had it until I went in there, put on those headphones.
Oh, yeah.
Panicked a little bit. And I'm like, why can't I hear anything? And then he spoke into the mic and he's like, just calm down. You have to put on your headphones and you have to put on the mic. And now we're going to do a sound check. I'm like, oh, okay. Because when you go into a soundless space for the first time, it's very disorienting, right? Because I live in Bombay, one of the noisiest places on the planet, I think.
Let's go into Bombay next.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I really want our listeners to know about Bombay, and maybe you can help paint a picture of the food, the culture, the people.
Oh, I would love to, but I just have to finish the story because this is the part that pivots to how insane it is that I now have a 14-year career of being a voice artist and how that is such a big, huge part of my podcasting. So I went in, I recorded those tracks, we had fun, and I forgot all about it until I got a call from them saying, we're doing a partnership with Z Cafe, which is the first all-English channel on television in India. They are doing a live contest nationwide for voiceover artists. And it was the first time anyone had even recognized this industry because voiceover artists are always in the background, right?
Right.
And I said, yeah, but why are you calling me? And they said, no, we think you should totally take part. You know, you'll kick ass and you'll have a lot of fun. And I'm like, no, television, no. And somehow he convinced me. I went in, did not realize that people from around the country had traveled to Bombay to audition for this. And only a select few got in. I came to know that after the fact, which is a good thing because I would have run away. I thought it was just fun and games. It was 3 days of crazy tasks, very competitive, lots of fun, all of it being recorded, of course, for television. It was quite weird and uncomfortable, but also I kept forgetting that it was like that because I was having so much fun. And I won.
Oh my gosh.
Zero real life experience. I had just done maybe 1 or 2 little gigs, small gigs that I got called in, and I felt so excited that I'm getting paid to have fun. Winning that contest knocked my socks off because I'm like, wait, what just happened?
That's so awesome.
I was so busy having fun that I forgot about the competition, and I think that was a good thing because I really just threw myself into it and I won. I won this beautiful crystal trophy that I still have. And you have to understand, right, for someone for whom this was a fun side hustle, not even a hustle yet. It was just a fun side thing.
Yeah.
And to be competing against many of those people who were established voiceover artists across the country who'd been working as voiceover artists for a really long time, including people from rock bands, so amazing, powerful vocalists who are used to being in front of audiences. And then there's me, the little monkey who was like, just having fun. And I won. So you can imagine what that did for my self-confidence, for my ego, and for my portfolio.
Beautiful.
That's why I had to finish that story. So with something like that happening to you, you can't ignore. It's not just a skill or a fun thing to do anymore. It's like, okay, this is legit. I got it. I got what it takes.
Again, I am so honored to have you on the show. As a voiceover artist, can you walk us through Bombay? You are so great at painting pictures in words. I would love for you to share that experience with our listeners.
We'll be back after a quick break.
You don't know what to make for dinner again? You want to explore new cuisines, but you don't have time? What if you have new inspirations and we provide you with the ingredients and recipes? We know you want to travel, learn new foods, explore the world, but life's responsibilities keep getting in your way. What if you can bring those experiences to your home neatly packed into a box? Ladybug Collective is a subscription service that finds real people from around the world to create beautifully curated assortments of recipes, ingredients, and cultural content. Not only do we include cultural ingredients, but also a set of detailed recipe cards with instructions on how to use them. Each box also has a QR code that, when scanned, takes you to tons more global exploration to immerse yourself in. Everything from film to lifestyle, art to history, it all can be found here. Live your life to the fullest. Subscribe now and don't miss out on the next cultural adventure. Ladybug Collective. Always exploring.
Yes. Okay, so Metro Food Hoppers is the second podcast that I was commissioned to do by one of the media houses that does have a lot of integrity and which I respect immensely, called the Indian Express. They opened up their podcast division in 2018, and they discovered that, hey, we've got political shows, we've got documentary shows, we've got news shows, we've got lots of things. We don't have a food show. Someone that was working with them said, I know somebody who can do this, because she has a little podcast called THC HeartBytes, and I think she'd be perfect. So I had complete creative liberty to design the show, to decide the topics. The only thing I couldn't control was that
I remember
name. So Metro Food Hoppers, terrible name, but let's not get stuck on that. So what was the beauty of the show is that it was an audio journey where, with the help of my fabulous, talented, and very, very skilled producer, because everything else in the earlier podcast was completely indie, done in my bedroom with the blanket over my head, hoping that my cat would not interrupt. And instead here, it's like a proper professional produced thing where he did soundscaping. So it's like you're with me traveling in the auto rickshaws. You can hear the meter going down. You can hear the auto rickshaw starting, brum, 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 and they're like, all right, let's go. And you can hear train announcements. You can hear traffic noises.
Simona, I was listening to that and I just cannot believe how creative you were. Really interesting.
It wasn't even me. It was all Joshua and Joshua Thomas. Shout out to Joshua Thomas.
Definitely.
Very talented musician, very talented sound designer.
I love it.
And he basically made that whole podcast come alive. The rest was interviews with regional chefs, with home chefs, with restaurants, with food industry leaders. It was just amazing, including my favorite topic, seafood and sustainability. So I got to do a lot of things that I'm passionate about via this podcast. And I was completely supported by Joshua through it, because he was with me doing the interviews. He was with me eating his first 12-hour cooked kakuni, which is the pork belly cooked Japanese style.
Oh my God. I want that pork belly. Okay. I really want that pork belly. That was a Japanese restaurant, right? Japanese?
Yes.
Okay. See, I do my research.
You definitely do your homework. Yes, it was. And we were sitting with the chef himself and he was explaining. And Joshua had never eaten Japanese food in his life.
I think I heard that too. Yeah, that's amazing.
It was, for me, the best gift was just watching him close his eyes and go straight to heaven. Like I could see him taking the escalator to heaven. He was like, what is this? I'm like, yep, that's Japanese food for you.
All right. So this made me think of a question that I really wanted to ask you, and I want to share with our listeners. What food would make you go to heaven?
For me, I think food is such an easy, immediate express ride to heaven, no matter how simple it is. And it doesn't have to be exotic. But I have to admit, I am partial to Japanese food, Asian food in general. I mean, something about seafood, because it's such a core part of me and my upbringing and my background and my passion, and even I'm hoping my future. Sashimi is just like, I can eat sashimi every day, all day, for every meal for the rest of my life. Like, if people ask me those silly questions like, if you could eat only one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? So I would cheat initially and say Asian food, because then that covers so much.
Wow.
But then if they get specific, I'm like, sashimi. Literally, I can eat sashimi every single day.
Which fish?
Tuna.
Yeah, of course. Oh.
Ottoro. So I did taste ottoro for the first time, actually, once I was in, when I was visiting Thailand, and my friend and I decided that we would indulge ourselves in Thailand, but with a full Japanese meal at a very relatively upscale restaurant. It was in a Marriott.
Oh, nice.
And Oh my God, that meal was like a big chunk of my monthly salary at that point, and worth every single bite. We ate Hokkaido oysters, we ate toro for the first time, we ate bowls, not spoons, bowls of ikura, which is the salmon roe.
Oh my gosh.
And tobiko, which is flying fish roe. I'm telling you, I've pretended I was a billionaire, and that's how I feel when I eat good food, because I come back to it. After saying this entire thing, I still maintain that a simple bowl of khichdi, which is just lentils and rice cooked together with some spices, can send me to heaven, because food is such a beautiful thing. It brings people together. It carries our memories, our history, our heritage. And I think it's a very powerful thing because we literally put it into our bodies and it nourishes us, and it can either make us very, very sick or very, very strong. Experience it with all our senses. It's tactile, it's fragrant, temperature-wise, texture-wise, it's so visual. And I think, it's really a gift to be celebrated. The day that I will have to have food restrictions will be the saddest day of my life. And I hope it never comes. And my heart goes out to people who cannot eat certain things for whatever reason, physical, medical, spiritual, religious, but cannot. It sounds to me like a punishment, because food is just such a celebration and there's so much to explore. The world has so many gifts. Our planet gives us so many gifts, and every culture comes with such beautiful traditions and rituals and all of this related to food that I just feel very privileged that I have access to so much of it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Kind of coming back to Bombay. Yeah, I think that's what you were asking me, to come back to Bombay. Bombay is one of the best places for somebody who's obsessed with food.
Why?
Because India, when people say Indian food, and they think Indian food is butter chicken, paneer,
tikka masala,
tikka masala, and biryani, and full stop. And I'm like, seriously? Because there are cuisines in India I have not even tried yet.
Wow.
There are cuisines in India that I have not even heard of yet, or maybe I've heard of, but I can't even conceptualize it. So India it's a subcontinent, okay? Uh-huh. So first and foremost, we have such a variety of terrain, and then therefore much more produce, that much more variety in the kind of fruit and veg and grains and all of the staples that we get. And then of course come the variations in how they're prepared. And in India, you walk 50 kilometers, and this is not my quote, I am quoting a celebrated food journalist. You walk 50 kilometers and the recipes will change. The names of the ingredients will change. The way that they prepare it and the way that the final outcome tastes will be completely different with the same ingredients.
Oh my gosh.
So tell me, how can you possibly spend even 100 lifetimes in India and say, I've eaten everything. Everything. You can't.
Well, I think you might be close, Simona.
No, not a chance. I feel like I want to be a cat. I want to have 9 more lives at least.
Yeah.
So I can just eat my way through this country, because my favorite part, and this is what we're going to probably jump to next, I'm guessing, which is the seafood snobbery.
Oh, yeah.
India is a peninsula, right? So we've got so much coastline, we don't even know what to do with it. And I grew up on the West Coast.
Cool.
I grew up in a small fishing village with my grandma.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love it.
I know you have a similar background, right? Because the seafood thing, it's just part of our upbringing. It's a part of our consciousness.
Our soul.
Exactly. So I think growing up, a respect for the sea, understanding that we are so connected, that everything we get from the ocean is so precious and so it needs to be respected.
Yep.
It needs to be respected. We have to understand that sustainability is not just
It's critical.
It's critical, exactly. It's not something that you can tick off a checklist. It has to be an integral part of your day-to-day living. And that's why I'm also so obsessed with, sustainable consumption of seafood, understanding what is in season and what is not. Because when you think seasonal produce, we speak about fruit and veg and grain and all of those things. We rarely think about the fact that we're harvesting so much of the ocean. And the ocean is well, there's more ocean than land, right, on planet Earth. So that's our bigger harvesting ground, and therefore we need to be way more mindful.
In part 2, we catch up with Simona in the kitchen and get cooking. She shares her passion for cooking with unexpected ingredients. She talks about food as religion and hosting the Spice Advice Room on Clubhouse and many other unexpected surprises. Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on Facebook. Find our website in the show notes. Subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen. Leave a comment with 5 stars and stay tuned for the next episode of Voice for Chefs.